Episode 43 of the Interpretation Station is Call to Order. Or should I say, declaro abierto el 43º episodio de Estación de Interpretación. That should have sounded like this.
Declaro aberto o 43º episódio da Estação de Interpretação.
How's my Portuguese? I've got a bit of work to do still. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a historic occasion. Yes, it's the first ever Interpretation Station episode from Portuguese to English. For all you Lucophones out there, great moment because we're lucky enough to have a new collaborator on board with us. Mr. Brandon Molt is his name. He is from South Africa, and he has very kindly agreed to provide, well, hopefully weekly episodes, short format, maybe even longer format, who knows, going from Portuguese into English. I know I've got quite a lot of Lucophones amongst my connections, so hopefully these Brandon's episodes can help you a lot. All I can say is I'm very honored to have Brandon on board with me here at the Interpretation Station, and his episode is going to be based on an annotated statement that he posted last week. If you recall, by the CPLP, he's going to take you through that, and I'm sure you're going to get a lot of benefit from it. And I'm just going to hand straight over to Brandon. Over to you.
Thank you, Roland, for your introduction. Welcome to everyone to this inaugural Portuguese into English tutorial on the Interpretation Station. Welcome to old and new members. I'm really looking forward to jumping into the speech. And I'm doing this for two types of interpreters. Firstly, interpreters like myself who have English as their first language and who interpret into English from Portuguese. And then secondly, interpreters who are native Portuguese speakers, but who are interpreting into English as their B language. I found that when I was learning to interpret from Portuguese, it was quite hard and it required lots of analysis when interpreting from Portuguese into English, because the two languages don't have the same way of expressing themselves. And we're going to see that very clearly in today's speech, I think. And so just to give you some information about myself before we start, my name is Brandon Molt, and I am an interpreter from South Africa. I work from not only Portuguese, but French as well into English. And I'm also working on a Portuguese B language. So today's speech is 2 pages long. It was actually 1.5. It was a very fast speech, as they tend to be at the Human Rights Council of the UN, which is where the speech was given by the former Brazilian Foreign Minister, Ernesto Araujo. And that was at the 46th session of the HRC, which took place near the end of February. So I think we're ready now to get going with the speech. Let's see. Let's start with the first line. He says, "Tenho a satisfação de dirigir-me a todos." Obviously, you can't literally translate that. You can't say, "I have the satisfaction of addressing you." I would say, "I'm just pleased to address all of you." And towards the end of that first paragraph, he mentions his fellow minister who's going to hand over the speech to for when he's finished. And I just highlighted that because in Brazil, they have the Ministry of Women, Family, and Human Rights. Moving on, in the second paragraph, he uses the word valorizar, which sometimes for me can be a bit complicated just to make it sound natural. Here he says, "O Brasil valoriza este conselho como espaço indispensável." You could also say indispensable, but I've put down the word vital. So I would say Brazil values this council as a vital space for, etc. Further down, he speaks of as bases do direito internacional dos direitos humanos. And you might be tempted to say bases, the basis for international human rights law. I would tend to say foundations. If you think about the Portuguese phrase criar as bases, in English, I would say lay the foundations, not lay the bases. And he says these foundations foram assentadas pela Declaração Universal dos Direitos Humanos. I would say they're laid out by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Just to the end of that sentence, he uses the term elementos determinantes. There I would say that these are factors which determine the dignity of people, and not, I wouldn't say determining elements for sure. Factors would be better there for elements. Yeah. And then near the end of this paragraph, he's spoken about exacerbar essas tendências. Tendências is not tendencies, as I often get trapped into doing. It's trends. So here I would say the COVID crisis has only exacerbated this trend in the singular. And then moving down, he's used the term em sua plenitude. Now you cannot say in this fullness. I don't think that sounds right at all. So I would say just fully, make it an adverb. Moving a little bit further down, he speaks about uma ordem internacional que honra os padrões estabelecidos na declaração. If you are under pressure, because this is it was a fast speech, I can tell you that, you might want to find ways to contract and to, simplify what he's saying. So here, I don't think you would have to say an international order which honors the patterns established in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Here I would just say an international order which reflects the patterns, or rather the norms established in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. He's used a term here which I think he made up. It's techno-totalitarismo. I think that the most appropriate option in English would be techno-totalitarianism. But thankfully that word probably won't come up a lot in your speeches because it's definitely his. In the next sentence, he spoke about medidas judiciais. And here, you may be tempted to use the word judicial measures, but there's a difference in Portuguese and English when the word judicial is used and the word judicial is used. I would say that judicial is almost always legal. So in this case, medidas judiciais would be legal measures. He speaks about o emprego abusivo ou equivocado de algoritmos. I would say the abusive or wrong use of algorithms. Further down, he uses the word movido. Diferentes atores movidos por objetivos económicos. And I would say driven is probably the best option there, not moved for sure. Just after that, in the next paragraph, he uses the term as tecnologias de informação e comunicação. And here, especially if you are pressed for time, I would just say ICT, because you also have the acronym as TIC in Portuguese for that very phrase. So I think that ICT would be acceptable in that case. In that sentence, he speaks about acesso mais fácil e amplo à informação. I would say easier and broader access to information. And here, once again, we can cut down because he said submetidas à censura. You do not need to say submitted to censorship. That would sound very contaminated by the source, by the target language, the source language. And I would say censored. It's quite simple. Vigilance is not vigilance. In this case, it's surveillance. You see what I mean by having these ready alternatives in English for words which really sound like they mean the same thing in Portuguese. And then finally, at the end of that sentence, he speaks of mecanismos de controle social, which I would call social policing mechanisms. Let's go to the last page then of his speech. He uses the word, or the sentence, engrandecer o ser humano. And engrandecer, or engrandecimento, for me is always enhance or enhancement. To enhance the human being. And not to apequená-lo. Apequenar, I would say, I've written belittle there, but perhaps dumb down is the better option. We don't want to dumb down humans. And then at the end of that sentence, I've highlighted the word explorado, because this is also a very easy trap to fall into. It's not explored. It's not explored, for sure. It's not explored. It's exploited. Exploração is exploitation. And then towards the end of his speech, he says, o Brasil conclama todos a discutir com urgência e profundidade. I would say Brazil urges all to discuss this urgently and in depth. And then finally, before we get to the end of the speech, or as we get to the end of the speech, we see him saying, a humanidade seja capaz de realizar salto tecnológico sem cair no abismo da autodestruição. And I would say humanity able to take a technological leap without falling into the abyss of self-destruction. Well, there you have it. That's our very first Portuguese to English speech done. And we'll definitely try and do a couple more. I look forward to the next speech that we'll be doing together. And I'll now hand over back to Roland. Thank you very much.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was Brandon for you. The guy deserves a round of applause, frankly. Tell you what, so I'm sort of halfway through my career. I've sort of got another 20 years of drudgery to go till I retire. So Brandon's sort of more in the early days of his career. But I tell you what, I've learned a few things from those 10 minutes from him, things I might apply when I'm working from Spanish and French, let's say. I like, the dumbing down, the social policing for control social, if I've pronounced that right. That stuff's going to come in very handy. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed that. Tell all your Lusophone, all your Portuguese-speaking friends that the interpretation station then has a Portuguese-speaking collaborator on board. Spread the news far and wide. If you like that episode, if you enjoyed it, make sure you smash the thumbs up button. If you want to see more of this kind of stuff in future, if you're if you're working with Portuguese, make sure to subscribe. He's going to be doing more for us. He's going to be doing more. Press that subscribe button. I am going to try and search up the recording, the original recording. I'm going to put it in the description box, a link to the description box. That way you can also practice that statement at home. And apart from that, yep, just keep following, keep watching the episodes. Get the notifications if you press the bell. Keep your eye out on the LinkedIn group. Every day we've got new posts going up from all the different language combinations, from Spanish, from French, from Russian. We've got Sara Molinari providing us with work into Italian. So yeah, just keep your eyes peeled. Follow me on that. Join the Interpretation Station LinkedIn group. And yeah, it's been a pleasure. So with that, all I have to say is that episode 40. Oh, by the way, we've got to think up of a name for Brandon's segment. If anyone's got any good suggestions for a name for his segment, stick them in the comments below. Okay? Wham bam, thank you, Brandon. Maybe not, maybe not. We'll come up with something good. We'll come up with something. Okay, so episode 43 of the Interpretation Station is adjourned.
The train is now leaving the interpretation station. We hope you enjoyed your visit